Hello, I'm Denise and welcome to my kitchen. Today we'll be making lasagna. They will be for the freezer, so I'm not going to be cooking them today, but I'll show you how to make them. I'll be making two, and I'll put the recipe in the description box below for you. So let's get over to the stove. The only thing we'll need to do today, we've already made the Bolognese sauce, so you'll see the canned Bolognese sauce that we've already made. This is from one that I've made in the spring, and you'll see the recipe. I can link that in the video description or put a link up in the top somewhere for you to find that video where we made and canned that together. Those are two separate videos, one for making it and one for canning it. So since that part is already finished, we can just make the bechamel sauce. Today's recipe is going to be easy. I'm just going to use some oven-ready lasagna, so we don't have to cook the lasagna noodles. We're just going to make this quick and easy. You can use homemade Bolognese sauce. You can use your favorite homemade sauce that you want to make. You can use your favorite marinara sauce from the store, any store-bought meat sauce. You can use any sauce you want. So the only thing we're going to need to make today is the bechamel sauce. So we're going to go over to the stove now and get that started. Okay, so here we are at the stove. The first thing to do is add your butter. Now I'm making a double batch of this bechamel sauce today, so I have 8 tablespoons of butter, which is a full stick, just a full stick of butter. If you don't have sticks of butter and you have it in a tub, then just use a half cup. So it's a half a cup of butter. Sounds like a lot, but we're making 2 lasagnas, 2 8 by 8 inch pans, and then we're going to put those in the freezer. Okay, so our butter is melted, and now we'll add in some flour and start whisking that to see how much we need. This is a double batch, so it should be a half cup, but so I'll just let this cook out for a little bit, and then we'll add our milk. Okay, so now we're ready to add our milk. This is half of it. Let me get that going. And now we're just waiting for it to come to a boil and it'll thicken. It does not need to be a full rolling boil. You'll know when it's done. I'll come back when it's thicker. Okay, so our bechamel has thickened slightly. And you can see it on the sides of the pan. And so I've turned the heat off. You can see the steam coming up from where it's releasing its heat now. I'm going to leave it here for a moment while I gather everything else I need. I need to grab some cheese for the layers of lasagna, and I will be right back. Okay, so we're back at the kitchen island, and it's assembly time for this lasagna. All right, so let me bring you down here. I have my 2 lasagna pans, and then if I bring you over a little bit, I'm just going to pan a little bit. I bring my lasagna noodles out into the lid of one of my 13 by 9 pans. It just makes it easier for me to get to everything rather than working inside of a box. You can just lay them on your counter or however you wish to do it. This is just easier for me because I'll be having to break them in order to make them fit into the pan. And then over here I've got my bechamel sauce, and back behind the camera you'll see me reaching for cheese and the red sauce. So we have several kinds of cheeses we're using today. Let me keep you down here because you need to see the assembly more than you need to see me. But I like to start each one with a little bit of red sauce in the bottom. It doesn't have to be much, just something to keep the noodles off the bottom of the pan. Let's see, so I think I need to pull off about this much. That's about right. But we'll use that. Yeah. We'll use those pieces, don't worry about it. We'll use them right along the side maybe. And it's okay if these overlap. You see how that one broke a little funny? So we'll use that one right there. And now we'll top with more red sauce. For the recipe, what you want to do here is mentally divide into thirds. Now I'm making 2 lasagnas, so I can't really do that. But for the recipe, you'll do a third of the red sauce here, and then a third of the white sauce on top. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one going as well. So don't let lasagna intimidate you like it did for me. For years I didn't make it because I thought, oh my gosh, that's so many steps and I don't know what to do, and what if I do it wrong? Well, so what if you do it wrong? As long as you like all the ingredients in it, it's going to taste good. So just jump in there. And I'm trying to make this as easy and accessible as possible for you. As I said earlier, the only thing you really have to make is the bechamel sauce. All right, so now we'll put some mozzarella on top, the next layer. Making sure we get all the way to the edge and be yummy and delicious. Now you saw me grate this Parmesan cheese fresh. I do like to grate my cheese fresh, but I do show myself some grace as well. I saw that cheese in the store and I thought, oh, that's just going to save me so much time. But if you're grating mozzarella or any soft cheese, it's best to put it in the freezer to let it firm up a little bit and then grate it. Okay, so our next layer, I think I'll go the other way. You don't have to. This is your lasagna. Just do whatever you wish. The thing is, no one's going to see this broken noodle. They're just going to taste it and say, wow, that's great. What store did you buy it from? But you can do this. And if you're making one, it's the same amount of effort to make two. You see that I'm making two right here. And if you're a small family, like for me, it's just me and my brother. I take care of my brother since he had an illness about a year ago. In fact, it's exactly a year ago. So I take care of him. He lives in my house. And so I know he loves lasagna and other pasta dishes. So you'll see me make a bunch of those. And I share those with you now. So the next one, we just repeat these layers. So we'll put more red sauce on. This is our homemade Bolognese. Because these are going in the freezer, I think I mentioned this with the baked ziti, I do like to have a little extra sauce because the pasta noodles are going to soak up some of it. Oh, and there's still some in that jar. Don't want to waste it. Food is too expensive these days. Have you all noticed the inflation out there? My goodness. Cheese and eggs and milk and really everything. Everything is expensive. I don't even know how to buy stuff anymore. It's so costly. And especially buying for 2 adults now when it was only me before. But that's okay. I love him. You can't not take care of the people you love, right? So this is the rest of our bechamel. So it goes red sauce, white sauce, cheese, noodles. Red sauce, white sauce, cheese, noodles. It's like a little song. All right. So now let's use our mozzarella slices on one of these at least. This is a lot of cheese, my goodness. But it'll melt in and be lovely. At least for part of it, right? Because now I'm out. Okay, so we'll use the rest of our mozzarella in this part. Maybe fill in the gaps. And I'll put my Parmesan cheese on top of this one. And this is the top layer. After this, I'll cover it. You'll see that in a moment. And now let me get some foil and we'll cover this up. Oh, you know what? I think I'll get some Italian seasoning to cover this. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back with some Italian seasoning. A little at a time this time. A little ambitious the last time I used this on the meatloaf. We can always add more. It's impossible to take it off once we've gotten started. So I'm just sprinkling some on and I'm rubbing it between my fingers to wake it up. Now it's been in the jar for a long time. You've heard me say this before. But it's been in the jar for a long time and we don't know how long it has. So in order to wake those leaf type spices up, see they're leaves and they're dried. So in order to wake them up, I just crush them between my fingers or between my palms when I'm laying them on my recipe in this case on top of my lasagna. And it'll wake up that flavor, because especially now with inflation the way it is, I want to get every bit of flavor, every bit of use out of what I buy that I can. So you want to cover it tightly with foil. And I'll probably do it, in fact, I know I'll do another layer, but this roll is almost out. I've got another one back here. And when you, after you freeze it, whenever you take it out to use it, then you'll bake it for 30 minutes at 350 degrees. And then you'll want to let it sit for 15 minutes or so. You want to let it sit for 15 minutes or so to come back together, so that when you slice into it, your lasagna doesn't sort of splatter out everywhere. You want it to stay in nice layers, like you see in a restaurant or something. That's because they've cooked it and they've baked it and they've let it rest the appropriate amount of time, 15 to 20 minutes, and then they sliced it. And if you do that at home, then you'll have the same experience. So I encourage you to do the same thing. Now, if you don't want to make this into a freezer meal, just make this recipe into a 13 by 9 pan as the recipe indicates below. And you can just bake it right now. Just make sure that your oven was preheating during the time that you're preparing all of this. And you can just pop it in the oven for 30 minutes. And if you want the top crust to be a little bit browner, then put it in the broiler right at the end for a minute or two. Keep an eye on it though, you don't want it to burn. Broilers, just depending on your stove, can get a little aggressive. So I wish you the best. Thank you for joining me in my kitchen today. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll leave me a like and consider subscribing to my channel. When you subscribe, if you leave me a comment you did so, then I'll say hi back to you. No pressure though. I'll be uploading more content for you to enjoy just like this. And in the meantime, I'll pop up a couple of cards for my other videos. Until we see each other again, be safe and be well.